depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today we've got new cards to look at from the upcoming Mask of Change expansion in Japan, which is, as we all know, going to come through over here as part of our Twilight Masquerade expansion. And let's start off with a new tool that was revealed just this afternoon, Lysander Labs. Jamming Tower. That's what it's called. But it is actually Lysander Labs. It is a straight reprint of Lysander Labs with a different name. It is exactly the same card, doing exactly the same thing. Pokemon tool cards in play, both yours and your opponent's, have no effect. It is literally the same stadium with a different name. I suppose Lysander Labs is very Gen 6 focused. We're not in Gen 6 at the moment. And yes, I know Pokemon ZA is coming at the start of next year. We're miles away from that. It's not in the TCG yet. So I understand why they didn't just do a straight reprint of Lysander Labs. That would have been weird, frankly. Having a random Gen 6 location dropped into a Gen 9 set, there is a reason they haven't done that. I get that. And to be fair, Jamming Tower honestly makes perfect sense. Let's not forget that if we're talking about tools, how about Tool Jammer? That's literally a tool that stops tools and is called Tool Jammer. So that kind of makes a lot of sense as well. And they're starting to do this more and more in the Pokemon TCG, where they're making everything stylistically and thematically appropriate. Where they're going, look, we had Tool Jammer that turned off tools, and now we've got a stadium that turns off tools. How about Jamming Tower? And honestly, that does actually make an awful lot of sense. So cool. This is alright. Here's the thing though. Lysander Labs, when it was released back in the day, I was obviously playing back then. I've been playing for an absurdly long time at this point. It didn't see a huge amount of play. Now, that's not to say it saw no play. It saw some play. But it did not see a huge amount of play. It was a fringe card. But I think it's about to get a whole bunch better. And one of the reasons I believe it is about to get a whole bunch better, Ace Specs. Ace Specs are back in the Pokemon TCG. And there are some Ace Specs that are tool cards that are really, really good. For what it's worth, we know from the wording of this card, you absolutely can attach tools. Attaching tools is fine. They just don't do anything. It's not like some of those special energy that literally cannot be attached. Tools can always be attached. They just don't always actually do anything. And that's the case here. But in Temporal Forces, for instance, we had two Ace Spec tools that are very good. We've got Maximum Bout that does an extra 50 damage and Hero's Cape that gives you an extra 100 HP. Both of these are good cards that see a bunch of play right now, but they're one-offs. They are tools that can only be used one time during the game. Well, I mean, unless you recover them. But the point is, you can only have one in your deck. And it would be super annoying if you played the one copy in your deck, and again, one of any Ace Spec total. It'd be super annoying if you did that, and then it didn't actually do anything. And sure, it's a stadium. Stadiums can be replaced. That is absolutely something that can be done. And it would be annoying, but it can absolutely happen. Lost Vacuum. Still in the format, can be used to get rid of stadiums, so there are options. But now we're in that awkward situation where, if you like these cards so much that you're going, this is the one Ace Spec, this is the only Ace Spec in my entire deck, then you need to be playing a Counter Stadium or a Lost Vacuum, etc. And the problem is, and I know a lot of people are obviously playing Counter Stadiums, but one of the problems here is, you need to find it on the right turn. Maximum Belt, realistically, you get one or two uses a game. But the point is, that extra 50 damage on those one or two turns is so big that it's fine. But if on that one turn you can't find the Counter Stadium or you can't find the Lost Vacuum, gutted. That's a problem. And it's not like it's, the only two we've got. We know for a fact in Twilight Masquerade, we are going to be getting Survival Cast. Which basically means that if you would be one hit KO'd, you go down to 10 HP remaining instead. Very nice tool, very good card. Well, if your opponent plays this down, it's not actually up to you anymore. Because the problem is, Survival Cast is a kind of thing that works on your opponent's turn. Maximum Belt might be your turn, but Survival Cast is your opponent's. So if your opponent just drops this stadium and then attacks into a Pokemon that's got Survival Cast, you're like, ha, got it. But because it doesn't do anything at that point, and that's where I'm going with this. This is a card which can make a huge difference. Something like Survival Cast, your opponent has no chance. This will go through. The tool will not work, and you don't get a chance to respond. Something like Maximum Belt, you do. But does anyone honestly think we've seen all the tools we're going to have in terms of Ace Specs? And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of other tools that this is going to stop. But I'm saying the big difference between Lysander Labs this time and now, we've got good Ace Spec tools. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is going to make a difference. I'm giving this card 4 Wassies. I preferred it when it was Lysander Labs thematically. But the reality of the situation is we are in a format now where Ace Spec tools are legit, and this gives a really nice answer to them. And I was going to leave it there, but actually there are a couple more points I want to make about this nice and quickly. First of all, it will turn TMs off. And when I say it turns TMs off, I mean it turns them off completely. You don't get to yet the attack, but also it doesn't fall off at the end of your turn, so at least you can kind of leave them there for 5 minutes, which is not terrible. Essentially, no, you can't use them, unfortunately, while the stadium is out, but they will also stay on there until the end of the turn when the stadium is gone, so it could be worse. And we actually should also have a quick mention about Gardevoir, because of course what Gardevoir really likes doing at the moment is using that whole Drifloon thing to use Balloon Burst while using tools, which could be Hero's Cape, but it could also be like Bravery Charm, for instance, to have more HP. And the deal essentially is, this will turn off those tools and weaken Gardevoir. No, your opponent still won't be able to attach enough energy to KO themselves with the damage, but of course, if they've already done enough damage to KO themselves, but they're being saved by the tool, you play this stadium, the tool stops working, Drifloon gets KO'd. But it is not the only card that has been revealed from Mask of Change. We can also have a little bit of a look at Farfetch'd. Farfetch'd is kind of adorable. I translated these next 2 cards on a tube, and I didn't realise lovely Anton Billet had already done it because I was on a tube, and yeah, but I did translate it myself, and then I checked with Antoine. And this Farfetch'd is alright. Now, single energy, 30 damage, discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon, and it does need to be a special energy. It will not get a basic energy, this only discards a special. But turn 1, going second, 30 damage, and get rid of that one special energy they attached. It's not good. I'm not claiming this is good, or pretending this is good. I am well aware this is not actually good, but I absolutely am saying that this has a little bit of potential. There will be some games where this is useful. But I really like the tool. Once during your... the ability. But you'll see why I made that mistake. Once during a turn, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a Pokemon tool and attach it to this Pokemon. I actually kind of like this in a weird kind of way. Now, you could kind of use this to get Maximum Belt and do AT turn 1, 2 and EX, but you're never hitting for weakness. It's your only Ace Spec. I think that's probably slightly over the top. But you know what this could genuinely be useful for? TM Evolution. TM Evolution gives you an attack, 1 colourless energy, choose up to 2 of your bench Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, search your card for a deck for a card that evolves from that Pokemon and evolve them up, basically. And the thing is, you bench this and you just search for TM Evolution and attach it. No mucking about, it's there immediately. That's why I like this. Or you can do that with TM Devolution to get rid of some stages. Or you can do it with Turbo Energize to attach energy from your deck. And I love this. Devolution, yes, mid-game. Early game, I legit adore this Revolution and Turbo Energize. That is when I think this Pokemon really comes into its own and becomes like a legitimately good card. Not an alright card, a genuinely good card. Because early game, the idea that you can use this for evolving up or accelerating energy is genuinely very, very good. And yes, I know we can search tools right now. We're actually in one of the better formats we've kind of ever had for searching tools, because we've got Town Store. And Town Store will go and search out your tools. So you don't need this to search tools. Also, remember, back in Evolving Skies, we actually had Shopping Centre as well, and that allowed you to move tools around, which was kind of amazing. That would be a fun combo here, but it's kind of a moot point. We don't have that card anymore. That card's gone and rotated out. But this, essentially, Farfetch'd isn't getting tools for anyone else. Farfetch'd isn't getting tools and moving them or any of that rubbish. Farfetch'd is getting tools onto itself. And as far as I'm concerned, its attack isn't really good enough to warrant getting any tools for itself. I suppose if you really want, and this is a stretch, but you could use this to get Rescue Board and give yourself a free Retreater. I think that's a terrible use of the card, but technically you could. But really, this is just for TMs. And I genuinely love this for TMs, because the idea of TM evolution is great, but the problem is you've got to find it in the early game, and that's a pain. Farfetch'd is a 90 HP basic Pokemon. You can search it out fairly easily, and then when you search it out, it gets a tool, single energy, and you're good to go. And I actually genuinely like this, and I really do think this is going to give some utility for those TMs. And I think it's only good for the TMs. But I really think with these TMs, you could be having quite a lot of fun here. It's certainly something I intend having a little bit of a play around with. Also, speaking of TMs, yes, I am well aware that Crisis Punch is a very fun TM. Yeah, maybe with Mirage Gate, because you still need the free energy on the Farfetch'd in order to use Crisis Punch, so you'd kind of have to Mirage Gate. But the fact that you can play it down as a basic Pokemon, immediately search for Crisis Punch, that does give a reason to play this. I think it's a bit more awkward than the other ones. I really do think the turn 1 single energy help you get set up is a sweet spot here. But this will work with Crisis Punch, and that could be kind of fun, could it not? I think it could. I'm giving this an extremely tentative 4 Wassies. I feel like I'm overrating it, but I'm looking at this with TMs and I'm like, I really like it. And then a final card we've got here is a Revavroom. And to put it simply, Revavroom wants revenge. Free energy, flip until you get tails, 100 for each head. Nah, mate. And I'm not saying it will never work. Sometimes it will absolutely work. There will be games you use this, flip 3 or 4 heads and get a massive KO. Putting free energy on is too awkward. What we have got here is single energy. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an attack during your opponent's last turn, you do 120 for a single colorless energy. Now, it does have to be KO'd by damage from an attack. Any other KO won't do it. Does specifically say damage from an attack. But you know what? This is kind of good. I mean, this reminds me of, honestly, Terrakion. One of my very, very favourite Pokemon cards ever. One of the issues here, and it is a little bit of an issue, Terrakion was a basic Pokemon. Now, it was 2 energy, whereas this is 1, but having to evolve it up really is a little bit of a pain. I suppose if we're evolving it up anyway, then all of a sudden we can play it with the other Revavroom, because why not at that point? It's a really nice draw engine. I'm talking the Rumbling Engine one from Scarlet and Violet base. I'll be honest with you, it's been released there's 4 different prints of it, but it came around originally in Scarlet and Violet base. And you know what? Yeah. If I'm playing a bit of a Revavroom package, and I've got a bit of a draw engine, and if I need it for revenge, hey, it'll get revenge for me, and if I don't need it for revenge, that's alright, it'll go as a draw engine as well. I think that's where you're finding a sweet spot here. I think as a Pokemon with revenge, is 120 enough nowadays? Because Terrakion hitting 90 absolutely was. But that's because it hunted Darkrai. At the time, Darkrai EX was everywhere. It was and I mean this sincerely, the most important card in the game to go and get a KO on. It was the one you needed to get more than any other card in the game. You had to get this. Well, we're not there. There isn't a Metal Weak Pokemon with 240 HP that we're desperate to try and take out. Doesn't exist. So, yeah, it'll be fine, and certainly if you need to hit Metal Weakness, it's quite good for that. But I do think here, if I'm playing it, I'm looking to take advantage of that draw engine, which hasn't seen much play since Scarlet and Violet dropped, and combining it with an Revenge Attacker, and hoping the two of them together are good enough. And it is worth noting there are some relevant Pokemon that will be one-hit KO'd by this. Chen Pao is the biggest one of them. It's got under 240 HP and a weakness to metal, so this will get a one-hit KO on Chen Pao. Iron Valiant is the other one. Bit less relevant, but it's a good card. It's seen some play, it's top cut some tournaments, and it will probably come back round again. It's not the best card ever as a Revenge Attacker, but it hits some decent Pokemon now, and will probably hit more in the future. I'm giving this one 3 Wassies. I like it, but it also looks like one of those cards where I'm going to say I like it and no one's ever going to play it. Unlike Farfetch'd, I'm sure people are going to make use of Farfetch'd. I can feel it in my jellies. Right, that's what you need to know, ladies and gentlemen, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these cards you're excited about. Tell me which ones you're hyped for. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Good us, me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Uber MX, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.